Your local writers group is crap. Stop burning off your free time in the presence of introverted do-nothings. The Gosslings Writers Group Podcast, a digital gang for writers. Writers who actually write stuff. Use typewriters. Who write all the people who've offended them into their stories, then murder the shit out of them. Writers who don't believe in dust jackets and name their pit bulls Hemingway. We're writers who lube their typewriters with gun oil. Because we're straight shooters. We don't always act pretentious, but when we do, we wear f***ing ascots. Welcome to the Gosslings.
Yes,
sir.
Yes. You ready?
Indeed, we are here.
Nick,
I'm ready. Take up the broken sword of your father.
And strike down the darkness.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome, everybody.
Tastes like freedom.
It does. It's got that. It's a spice of liberty with non-compliant overtones.
I wonder how much of American independence was born on the backs of bourbon.
Bourbon, liquor, whiskey, gin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it.
Yeah,
was.
well, they say that a lot of the revolutionaries before the war met in churches and taverns.
Yeah,
So,
true.
like, there's probably a reason why they closed down churches and bars during COVID.
Probably.
You know?
Yeah, we know where Sam Adams was hanging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, welcome, everyone. I'm Jonathan,
I'm Nick.
and we are
And I'm
joined
Greg.
again by our friend Greg.
Florida man is back.
Florida man, baby.
Florida man, baby.
And we are here to do a follow-up episode. This one is fast on the heels of our Tyrant Lincoln
Mhm.
episode, and we're going to be talking about prepping today.
Yeah, talking
So
about
it's quite
prepping.
the tyrant.
Yeah, because it's coming.
Yeah.
Prepping,
yeah.
the need to prepare is coming because things are definitely not going to get better in the
Yeah.
foreseeable future. We're nobody's surprised at what's happened over this past. 2020 was a train wreck. 2021,
Mm-hmm.
we can't comprehend. We would have never seen something like this coming. The drastic changes. It's only going to get worse.
Yep.
We have another year. We're going into the midterms next year. It's going to get volatile.
Yep.
Then the general elections in 2 years. It's just going to be so fugly.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so bad.
Yeah.
And economically, that can mean a lot for you and your family.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Well, especially once jab mandates go into effect, which they probably will. I mean, when the president is threatening that our patience is running out.
Oh,
You
well,
know?
you know what? Our compliance may be running out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
know.
No
You
kidding.
know
Yeah.
what?
He
We're
needs
not,
to be worrying
we're
about our
not-
patience. Mhm.
I am here dressed as New Millennium Lincoln, as Abe Lincoln, and
Lincoln.
I'm pretty sure Abe Lincoln would just walk up and say, 7 years ago, I just let people do what they want. And
Could
just
you
kept strong
imagine?
borders and a strong military and made sure no one's constitutional rights were violated. Abe Lincoln out.
It's so great. It's so great. If
A house divided gets more booty from the other side.
a house divided is against itself to share booty. Got bargaining chips, that's all I'm saying.
I got more money for Cadillacs, is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's great. Okay, before we jump in any deeper and any sillier, real quick, subscribe. I think I hit that. Okay.
Oh,
okay.
you hit
Here
the
we
button.
go. Yeah, and I can edit all this.
And we're back.
I can edit all this in post, guys. We're good. All right. Before we jump in too deep and too crazy, don't forget to subscribe, right? Please.
Yeah.
And really, even more importantly than hitting the subscribe button, That doesn't do anything. Hit the little bell thing.
The notification
Notification
bell.
bell.
And just
makes a
scroll
big
up and
difference.
hit all. That's all you need to do. Don't even worry about the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Just hit the bell.
Hit the
That's
bell.
all we want.
Saved by the Bell. Well,
Yeah.
it does make a difference because if anybody who is new, you may not be aware of this, but Nick has done a lot of work. Nick does pretty much all the work for this.
Oh,
Um,
every bit.
Yeah, it's impressive. And so one of
Thank
the
you.
things, the only way to catch the live stream is when we do the live stream.
Yeah.
And then if you want to watch the entire episode in video format, then you want to go to Rumble.
Yeah.
We have a Goslings Rumble channel,
Yep.
and it's just the Goslings with 2 S's on Rumble. And then once we're done with the live stream, in this particular case, this is an upload. We're banking this episode.
Yep.
But if you want to catch the live stream when it airs on YouTube, you will have to catch it when it airs on YouTube. You can't go back and watch it. It's only on Rumble that you'll be able to see it. YouTube will have a series of clips that Nick has become very proficient at editing and uploading. Little
Thank you.
5 to 10
Get a
minute,
little better at that.
7-minute
Nicely done.
clips.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's been pretty impressive. And then if you want to listen to the live stream in its entirety, then we have a Goslings Spotify.
We do.
Channel.
We do. We got the podcast version of this as well.
Yeah.
So Spotify, if you want to listen, Rumble, if you want to watch the entire episode, and then you'll see the highlights on YouTube. This will be on YouTube for a couple of days
Yeah.
as I'm slicing and dicing. We'll get the segments up, and then I'll pull the full episode.
But if
off
you're
of
ever
YouTube.
interested in interacting and commenting with us, then you gotta be there when we're live on YouTube for
Yep.
the live stream.
Absolutely.
This is the only format that we do this. We don't do the live stream on Rumble. We don't do call-ins on the podcast.
Right.
This
Right.
is
Yet.
That's
That's
right.
We'll get there. We'll get
I
there.
am looking
That's
forward to
coming.
that. I'm looking forward to being like the Art Bell of the.
Yeah. If you want to call in and get your ass handed to you, just be patient with us. We'll get there.
Call in Abe Lincoln right now. Call in Abe Lincoln. Be hot. Be a chick. Don't be married.
Gonna take a call from California from
Nope.
Rainbow Pants 49. Jonathan, this one's yours. Go for it, bro.
Go away. Don't ever come here.
So I was thinking, I just moved to Tennessee. Can you tell me the best place?
What's the best place to get
Yeah.
like coffee and
Coffee.
yeah.
California is the best place to get coffee. Why don't you go there?
Let me. Let's see. Starbucks. 2,300 miles away. Santa Monica.
I want Starbucks. I want
yeah.
someplace local.
Yeah.
Is there a local
You wanna
coffee shop
do a
you can-
logo?
Yeah, there's one in
Refer me to?
there's one in Colombia.
Yeah.
Tell me about that one.
Yeah.
Where is
It's
Well, you have
great.
to have a vaccine passport to get there.
that? No.
You have one.
I
Also,
Wow.
but I don't know exactly.
I don't wanna
the
talk
vaccine
about it.
passport. I might not be.
well, I'm trans. I don't know if you know this, but I'm trans vaccinated.
I identify as vaccinated.
Yeah. I identify as vaccinated, so
Yeah.
that means I can, as a man, I can pee in the Target bathroom without showing any proof of vaccination because I
Right.
identify as a vaccinated man,
Yeah.
and I'm going to put all of your sons at risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was an option. Dude, I stand when I take a shit. Are you kidding me?
Californian men sit when they.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. California men sit when they pee. So
That's
if you're from California, you obviously you're a man. You sit when you pee.
You know, it's so
So,
funny. I feel sad so much.
That's a given.
It's like I have a lot more liberty to say what I want when we're recording and we're not live. So
Yeah.
a lot of this, I'm probably going to edit out a lot of my stupid comments,
Please
unfortunately.
let me out.
Maybe not on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the fun thing about the
I'm-
podcast. You can.
And everything Florida Man says.
Yeah. You should just
But
like
maybe there's something good you could leave it in, but
you should just swap out like everything Greg says with just like sounds of just like a songbird. Just
Or a chick, or like a chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken
just like
Do lemurs make sounds? That'd be cool. Would you like to be a lemur?
Sure. Yes.
What's your animal of
Yeah,
choice? Animal
lemur.
animal vocalizations of choice.
What's your spirit animal, Greg? Here on
Yeah.
NPR, we're here to discuss spirit animals.
What's my spirit animal? I don't even know what my spirit animal is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be a some sort of rodent for sure.
Muskrat.
Yeah, a muskrat.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's your spirit animal? What about you, Jonathan?
It's obviously like either it's either a boar or
Wolverine,
or
badger.
a honey
Maybe a
badger,
badger.
or a
Yeah.
wolverine or a badger.
Yeah.
It's something that's hermetic in nature,
Yeah.
you know, and irrationally angry
Yeah.
that you're here.
Yeah.
You know, and thoroughly unlikable and smelly and
mad.
low center
So
of
mad.
gravity. Yeah, and just mad.
I think
Yeah.
mine's like a super boring large breed lab of some kind that looks for like I can talk a
Golden
good
doodle.
game, but as soon as somebody comes up to me, I'm super nice and I run or I run away. That's my spirit animal.
I mean, that actually would
dog.
qualify as a pit bull. you
yeah,
know?
kind of like a pit bull.
Yeah,
Only a scrawny, mangy
Yeah.
one. You know,
yeah,
I don't know.
or kind of like a chubby, pampered one.
Yeah,
You know, that's just like
Yeah,
like
for
Lily.
sure.
You know, because
Yeah.
Lily is
I love
vicious.
her.
She sounds so vicious, but the second you're through the door, the butt wags,
Oh,
you know,
she's
and
great.
the tongue comes out, you know, and she's
Yeah.
just
You know Lily, right?
She's
You know
so
her.
healthy.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
go way back, right? Yeah,
Oh, we
she's,
were way back.
she's sweet. She's heavy though. You can't just pick her up and like snuggle her.
yeah.
Only because of her weight. Well, we gave her a new nickname yesterday.
Oh yeah,
we,
what
we
was
picked
it?
her. We picked her up from the from doggy daycare, and we we had some issues trying to get up the hill in the truck because of the weight. So we decided to name her Payload. Payload
Yeah,
seems
she's
like
in
a
the
good
back.
nickname.
She's in the back, spread out like Jabba the Lily,
Yeah.
in the back seat.
Like
and-
if Jabba the Hutt had legs and he spread them, that's what
Mhm.
Lily looked like.
yeah, she did.
Yeah.
She just pancaked right out. In
Oh,
the
it's
back
so
seat.
adorable.
Yeah,
Uh,
get a pit bull, everybody. You'll love it.
by the way, you can also
Good
watch.
dogs.
You can
Good
also
dogs.
watch this on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
On our on our Facebook group. If you're part of the group, which you should totally join, you can see this after we air it. The full episodes are there too. But I've been going to Facebook and posting the segments as well. You're not going to want to miss this episode. It's awesome. We have Greg, G Money, Florida man right here. And the reason why we wanted him here specifically for this episode is because Greg is in a unique situation that neither Jonathan and I are really in.
Yeah, that's true.
Greg's got a little homestead going on, and he's
Yeah.
kind of our resident prepper expert. And we thought that would be an
We're
amazing
gonna
topic.
pick his brain.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So
Yeah.
let me start off. Hold on. Let me put where's the topic? Let me get it out. Here we go.
First of all, I want to say I feel exploited, and
Dance, monkey, dance.
Greg's had like 4 glasses of.
I've had
Bullet.
4 glasses of bullet, so
This is gonna be
Yeah.
great. So,
bang your cymbals,
So-
monkey.
so Greg, just to verify, in your
Right.
in your exhaustive checklist of prepper items,
exhaustive.
where is
Mhm.
whiskey?
Oh, it's I mean,
Is it before or after kids?
you mean for me or my family's sake? Because for
Who
me,
cares about your family? You don't prep for your family. You prep for yourself.
in
For
my
you.
case, it's a
It's a,
stop.
love it.
Yeah.
So good. No, of course. No. Great. And do you ration any of your self-distilled liqueurs for your family?
Well, my wife, she occasionally imbibes, but she's
So she's in, right?
yeah.
She's like totally with you on that.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you have a
I
still?
would hope so.
Do you have a still?
Still, oh, of course. Wait, a still?
Yeah, you know.
Oh no, we don't have a still.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We just buy the store bought, good stuff.
Yeah. What happens when you can't buy the store-bought stuff? See, this is the stuff we need to prep for.
That's the question. I think we probably devolve into chaos.
Do you,
I don't
Well, that's
know.
when you-
when the end
What
comes.
do you think?
That's
What
why
do
you
think
keep the
would
children
happen?
alive. You keep the children alive so that they can sneak out in the middle of the night because they're smaller, lower silhouettes, also
Yeah.
innocent.
Jonathan, what would you
They
say
can
would
steal.
happen if there's no more liquor?
You start finding it and taking it.
find it and take it.
Yeah.
So, how would
But not from
fire
good
set?
people, though. Not from the good people. Because the good people you want around at some point.
You
At
might
some
wanna
point,
barter and trade,
but there are
right?
plenty
Yeah.
of garbage pail dwellers
Yes.
that don't need.
No, I mean you
Are
could.
you talking about my skin tone? Because I feel
not
like
talking
I'm
about you,
garbage
bro.
pail
Bro, when
right
it goes,
now. Like,
look,
garbage.
when it kicks off, we're coming
pail.
down to your homestead. We're not
Oh.
talking about you.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, you operate outside of your tribe, outside of your
Exactly,
network.
exactly.
You know, that's
Oh man, tribe. We
yeah.
got to talk about that.
yeah.
What does a tribe look like?
Yeah, a close network of peers and people you trust to stand at the wall. You know.
What's interesting is that that's something you have to establish before everything goes down. Before everything hits the fan.
Yeah.
But after everything hits the fan, there needs to be some sort of way to add strength to your tribe.
Yeah.
How do you bring people into that circle of trust?
Yeah.
Who do you identify? Like, what are the ideal people
Yeah.
you can trust to be around your wife and kids when there is no law and order?
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Well, that's a great question.
That's why I asked
How
it.
do you know that?
I don't. That's why I asked the question.
I certainly don't know. But I think what you would try to do is find people that seem like-minded,
Mhm.
that are kind and benevolent,
Mhm.
and people that understand that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
So
If
do
you
you require
we're on
them?
the same team? Like, humanity is on the same team.
Do you require
There
them to
are-
add to bring something to the table? Like, do they need to bring goods? Do they
skill.
need to
Not
have a particular
necessarily.
skill?
I mean, no, well, here's the thing. Like, you have to understand that sometimes you can provide something to other people,
Mhm.
and it's what they need. It may be something very simple, like just love and affection. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But then sometimes they may bring something to you, like they know how to cull a calf.
Yeah.
And skin it, and you might not know how to do that. But
Well, can I bring up a scenario
yes,
for you?
Please.
So let's say you got your homestead, you got your family, you got a lot of kids, right?
Right. I mean, there's 5.
That's
Four boys.
That's a good thing. That's
Which
a good.
is, well, it's a lot.
Yeah. So here's the scenario. Let's say that everything hits the fan, right?
Right.
And you guys are surviving. You got your homestead. You guys are doing okay.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, an urbanite family. They don't know. Yeah, like me. Let's say me.
Oh, God.
Let's say
You're
like
okay, so
let's
you
say
tell me
like me and my wife and kids. Not me and my wife and kids, but like me and my wife and kids.
Well, somebody
Live in the burbs, and we're like,
oh, yeah.
dude, we're abandoning the city because it's chaos, and we need to get somewhere safe. And we show up in our Toyota Corolla.
Oh.
And we stand at the edge of your property and try to talk to you and say, hey, is there anything we can do to help around here? We need a place to hide out. How do you handle that situation? How do you kind of gauge, should I trust these people? Do they have anything to add? Because they've been living in a subdivision.
Right. Well, first I would say buy a Ford. Just right off the top.
Corolla ain't gonna do
And
much.
good night,
up.
folks.
Drive Ford. No, I don't know. No. I don't have a lot to give the homesteading community. If people know what they're doing, that's great. But yeah, try to be independent. Like, start stocking up on food and toilet paper,
Mhm.
whatever things that you wouldn't even think would be hard to find.
Mhm.
Even 6 months ago, a year ago,
Mhm.
like, the world's different.
Yeah. What is your outlook for prepping? Like, what time frame are you prepping for?
Just every day.
No, I mean, like, how far out are you looking? Like, if things go down, I need to be able to survive for this amount of time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a month.
At least a month.
Maybe if you can at least be ready for the grid to go down for 2 or 3 weeks, that would be really beneficial for so many people, so many Americans
Mhm.
that are, like, I'm from Florida, so we have hurricanes every year. You might lose power for a day. You might not lose power at all. You might lose it for a month.
Mhm.
So start prepping for at least a short term But the way the world is now, it could be a lot longer. So
Follow-up question.
prepare as much as you can.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
If things hit the fan and I show up at your homestead with my family and I say, we only have maybe a couple weeks worth of food in the trunk of my Corolla, but I've got guns and ammo. I know how to shoot and I know how to work. Does that make, and my kids don't, but I'll make sure that they figure it out real quick. Does that make me valuable, or should I move on?
That would sound,
hypothetically, me.
You know what? If I didn't know you at all, it might be weird, but knowing you, I would say you're welcome Mars. You know.
And I brought my typewriter. I don't know if that helps or not.
Well, you at least 2.
I got 5 typewriters.
Okay. All right, then you're welcome.
And ribbons.
He's got a week's worth of food and 5 typewriters.
You're like, do you have any skill?
Food, but 5 typewriters.
Any provisions? Any skills? And I'm like, well, I can write kids stories.
Yeah,
I can write some kids books.
Yeah,
I don't know if that helps.
My kids are bored.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can hand
Right.
those off to the kids, and that's psychological. That
There you
effect,
go.
you know.
But the interesting thing, my wife,
Of course,
and your wife too,
Of course, you would love them.
education, right? I mean, we got all kinds of stuff we can contribute.
Oh, absolutely.
But the important stuff is ammunition, food. What else?
Well, I would just say knowledge. You know, like you need to know who your neighbors are. Really, it's more about networking, I guess. Like, get to know your neighbors, get to know the people around you. Because if society collapses, if that's what you're asking me, you know, the closest people to you are going to be the most valuable people to you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Having a network, knowing your neighbors is very important. That's one of the reasons why they've pushed the internet and the technology that supports the internet for the past 20 years is to decentralize or to not decentralize, but to delocalize you so that you know more about somebody in Bangladesh that you talk to every night than you do about your next door neighbor. And when the kid is bleeding and you need to go to the doctor, but you don't have any gas in your car because there hasn't been any gas for the past 6 months, your neighbor does, but you don't know your neighbor, so you might not ask. You know, it's or he might not help you. You'll ask him because it's your kid, but so you know, part of the agenda has been to destroy not just the nuclear family, but also destroy local communities, especially in middle class suburbanite environments where those people don't need the government. You know, we don't need the government. We don't need the government to protect us. We don't need the government to provide for us. And that makes you the enemy. And so what they want to do is they want to destroy you, to destroy us. And that's the best way to do it. So knowing your neighbors is very important. Even if you don't like them, you know, no one likes anybody, but you get to know them anyways, you know, and out of pure pragmatism, if nothing else. And good fences make for good neighbors. So boundaries are good.
It's wisdom right there.
Have them over for a barbecue, you know, but don't text them every night, you know, asking, you know, about the latest drama in their kids' lives. Right. And so
that's a good point.
And then another thing is the 72-hour rule. A former cop friend of mine at one of the gun shops told me about this one time. He said that in law enforcement, they call it the 72-hour rule, where if disaster strikes, you know, hurricane, nuclear bomb, earthquake, whatever, tornado, if people don't get clean water within 72 hours, they start cannibalizing each other. Not an exaggeration. You will drink the blood of the neighbor next door that you don't know in order to make the broth for the stew to keep your children alive. So 72-hour rule. You need at least at bare minimum, and it's easy to get. You need 72 hours worth of food, potable water, and whatever else you might need, whether it's medications or whatever. Prioritization. Anytime you go to the grocery, spend as much excess money as you can on non-perishable foods, canned goods,
Dry goods.
Yeah, dried goods.
Yep.
5-gallon buckets with Mylar bags, with rice and beans in them. If you can, get a freezer and a generator, then great. A generator is not. Weirdly enough, a generator is actually kind of a problematic thing to have for security reasons, because you can't run it indoors because of the fumes.
Wow.
And and you can't really. It's a security risk to run it outdoors because it's loud. And
attract people.
Yeah,
Want it.
Exactly, and it's vulnerable. So
plus, you have to have a reservoir of gas.
Right. And you need to not delude yourself into thinking that you can bug out and live in the woods. You can't. You won't survive. You'll break your ankle or get a compound fracture or scratch the wrong thorn, get an infection, and you'll die.
Yeah, nobody's that connected to nature.
No, you're not that good.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe if you're like John Lovell, or some other, special operations forces type person who's, been to SEER training or something, then sure.
Yeah.
But you are not that person, and neither am I. So your home becomes your castle or your fortress, or you have a bug out location that is within, hopefully, an hour's drive. Anything more than that, and you're really running the risk of hitting a traffic bottleneck on the interstate somewhere. Yeah. That's a real problem. Having a network of people is important. Friends, family, some sort of a plan, just like you have plans for your children with, fire. You have, or a home intruder. You should have a plan for something like this. Water filtration is good. Buying like a Berkey water filter is a buddy of mine turned me on to that. That's a great thing.
Also, live straw.
Yeah,
it's great in a
live
pinch.
straw. Yep. And have a rain barrel. Have some sort of water collection. City ordinances be damned. Hide it. Who cares? Like there are a lot of places out there a lot of counties that consider it illegal to collect rainwater, and they can suck it, dude. Like, do it anyways, and just hide it.
The city can't be there to protect you.
Yeah, the city's not going to provide you water.
Right. When the water goes down, that the city's supposed to provide, at least here.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of means to get water.
Yeah, and a little bit of bleach or some sort of purification tablets are necessary if you're going to store water.
I don't know if our town has any prohibitions against that.
It doesn't, thankfully.
Yeah, and even if it did, they wouldn't be checking.
No. What are they doing? Yeah, a lot of places do.
One thing that our city does have an issue with is that if you live within city limits, you can't have animals.
Right.
You can't raise
like chickens,
exactly,
or hogs.
Exactly. And chickens are like the entry level number one thing that you get. Right. Gotta have eggs.
That's the automatic number one. Like, okay.
You have chickens, right?
3 eggs, of course.
I don't have any chickens.
I don't either.
Yeah. Like 20.
Wow,
it's
20
awesome.
Chickens.
How many eggs do you guys get a day?
Well, I would say like about a dozen.
That's breakfast for an entire family.
Yeah, man,
that's great.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's so awesome. Healthy too.
Out of the 20, you might get 60 to 70% production, like every day. Sometimes more, sometimes none.
Really?
But on average, maybe 70%.
How long is an egg good for?
Indefinite, as far as I don't know. We eat them so fast, I don't know how long
It's
they
awesome.
would last.
What other animals do you have? After chickens, after you got that on lockdown?
We got a cat, we got a dog.
Mm-hmm.
The fun ones.
Right, they keep the rodent. They keep the rodent problem in check. But as far as food supply,
I really want some pigs.
Okay.
Goats are a good one.
I really want some pigs. Maybe a 1 or 2 cattle.
Yeah.
Like one that
you got the space for it, right?
One that 2 acres. I don't know if that's enough.
It's not for one.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, it should be.
Or goats.
Yeah.
Goats are good.
Goat milk. Doesn't taste as good as cow milk, but it's okay. It's okay.
Regardless,
it's okay.
Regardless of this, my next question is: regardless of the size of your property, I'd like to ask Jonathan, what are some good perimeter security best practices?
Oh yeah,
please. Like automatic turrets. Or
yes.
What do you think?
Yeah. So if you've ever seen Aliens,
Auto turrets are so-
or the excellent Mads Mikkelsen movie Polar. Then,
Wow, it's intense.
automated turrets are the answer. Sentry guns. Sentry guns. If you've ever played Call of Duty, sentry guns are the answer. Next question. Next.
Okay.
Judah
Perfect.
Judah Friedlander. I think.
Next question.
Sentry guns. Next question. No. So they're
That's awesome.
aside from like your standard issue like Jingle Bells booby traps or Jingle Bells warning system, you can take like some Christmas bells and tie them to a but that doesn't really do you any good because especially if you have livestock, you're going to be dealing with predators, like coyotes and stuff who can trip those. Trail cams are really good. CCTV systems are not that expensive nowadays, not like they used to be.
Okay.
I mean, they install them in your doorbell, at this point.
Yeah,
so that's a good thing. Honestly, the absolute.
I don't feel comfortable with the internet uploading or clouding my family's.
Well, CCTV is supposed to be independent of the internet.
Yeah.
Well, closed circuit.
Close area.
So what I'm asking is, you get your own little recording device to record, or what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, you could make that a closed circuit system. I mean, CCTV of some sort would be the best way to do it. But really, honestly, have at least a handgun, preferably a handgun and a rifle, preferably a semi-automatic rifle, such as an AR-15 or an AK-47 or some main battle rifle and a full rifle cartridge, 308, AR-10, M1A, FAL, even the SETMEs. Have something like that.
SETMEs?
Yeah, it's like a SETMEs. It's like an HK91. It's another semi-automatic 308.
Okay. Okay.
I've never owned one. I'm not a fan of them, but some people like them. And so, anyways,
let me ask you another. So let me ask you a question related to that. If someone is watching and they don't have firearms, but they want to at least get a rifle.
Yeah.
And they don't know anything about it. They feel like the bottom's going to drop out any second. They don't have time to do the research, and they just want to go and get an affordable gun that has, the capacity and the firepower they need to keep them and their families safe. What would you recommend?
An AR-15. Yeah, AR-15 and 5.56. It's the most user-friendly, the most modular. An AK-47 is great, but
They are.
In order to get one that has the same cross compatibility and user friendliness with like your kids and your wife and you, as far as like being able to put a red dot on it and have an adjustable stock, in order to get something like that, you have to spend usually over $1,000, which you can do, and if you can afford it, do it, absolutely, because the caliber is great. And it's readily available still, despite the importation ban. Magazines are not any more expensive. All that stuff's still out there. The AK market has really blown up in the past 10 years, no pun intended. But the AR-15 really is kind of America's rifle. Everybody can shoot it. Everybody can use it. It's extremely modular and customizable and user friendly. The ammo, with the occasional shortage, is pretty readily available, and everybody will have it, including National Guard armories. So you can get pretty much whatever you need whenever you need it. Either one is fine. I'm not opposed to either one, but I would say if you're on a budget, it's easier to get more bang for your buck by getting something like a Smith & Wesson M&P 15, or a Ruger AR-556, or and it doesn't.
Those are also rifles.
Yeah, those are all AR-15s, and it doesn't really matter what brand you get for the most part. Stay away from the polymer receiver ones because they're not very durable, especially under rapid fire. So get something with an aluminum standard metal receiver, which is 98% of the companies out there, and you can do all that for $1,000 or less, and still be able to get something that everybody can shoot and use. A flashlight, a 2-point sling, and a red dot and iron sights are pretty much the only things that I really insist that people have for any sort of defensive gun. Have as much ammo as you can. Try to have at least 1,000 rounds for every caliber you shoot, bare minimum, untouched, and then build from there. That's your hard deck. Don't break that. And then honestly, get a dog. Like, there's no alarm system better than a dog. I mean, we've been doing this dance with them for thousands of years.
Yep.
It's in their DNA to bark at everything and to protect the hallway or the front door, or the backyard. And they're better than just about every technology that you have. They're cheaper. They can eat eggs. They're easy to take care of. I mean, they can eat whatever. And
Cat's not going to bark.
No, the cat's not going to warn you. The cat is good for sanitation. Weirdly enough, despite the litter box issue,
rodents.
Yeah, you have an outdoor cat, a barn cat. Barn cats are, that's like the one redeeming value of cats.
Yeah.
Aside from being able to see the shadow people, they can also, they can also see, they can also take care of rats and snakes. And
I actually have 2 questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, tell people about so you're recommending all these rifles. Tell people why I'm deferring to you to recommend rifles.
I've worked in a gun shop, or I've worked in 2 gun shops for the better part of 4 to 5 years now. And then I've been a shooter for probably the past 20 years. And I've spent a lot of money on ammo. So, and I've taken some classes. I've taken some good classes. I've had the privilege of having a lot of friends who know a whole lot more than they've forgotten more than I'll ever
Ginger
remember.
Patriot, for one.
Yeah,
Ginger
Ginger
on
Patriot.
With us a few weeks ago.
Yeah. And so you have these opportunities to develop some sort of a skill.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where like the network thing comes in handy. You want people who, ideally, you want a plan with a network of people. There's a great book that Delta clued me into called Patriots. I don't remember the author's name, but it's about this. It's like it's a novel basically about prepping.
Okay.
In the apocalypse, like nuclear war or something happens. I can't remember what it was. And, everybody sort of, all these friends who have, like, one's a doctor and one's like a security guy, and the other's like an IT person and the other's a farmer, and them and their wives, they all get together, they have a coordinated meeting place. They have a bunker, they have a perimeter set up, they have fire watch, established, and, with watch posts, and who does what. And they have medical supplies. That's the ideal.
Right.
Hardly anybody.
That's going to be one of my questions about organization. How do you do that? I need to get that book.
Yeah, it's cool. I got it at the house. I'll give it to you.
Cool.
I don't remember the name of it, but I'm pretty sure it's called Patriots. Yeah, organization's important. You have to have people you trust outside of people and people you trust. Friends of friends. If cell networks are still established, then you can vet people who show up at your door saying like, "Oh, I'm Jonathan's friend," and
have some sort of communication word, some sort of indicator that only you and Jonathan would know, so that friend can say, "Hey, by the way,
secret code, baby,
right? The word that I'm supposed to tell you, so you know how to trust me. This is the word, the watchword.
Yeah, a watchword is important, and it's a great idea.
Great.
And then if you don't have that, then beyond that, if this is just some stranger off the street who shows up at your gate, based on your needs, if you need somebody to help you, move a trailer that's broken down, let them move the trailer, have somebody watch the scene, and then don't let them in any area where you don't have to let them in, because who knows if they're really like a spy, sneaking into your camp to scope it out for the marauders, and then get them out of there as soon as possible. And or if you don't need them, don't have them. Don't let them in. Give them. Actually, don't give them anything. Just don't.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Firearms, dogs, all these things that you've mentioned are good for, that's kind of interior defense once they get to your door, your 4 walls, so to speak. Property extends beyond that. There is an outer perimeter.
Yeah.
What are some good, and a dog can tie into this too, but what are some other measures you can take, best practices to protect your outer perimeter of your property, whether you live on a homestead and you're out in the country, or maybe if you're in the, even more importantly, because this is my case, you live in the suburbs. You don't have you just have like a quarter of an acre with a house filling up most of it, and maybe a fence around the backyard. Like, what do you do to protect your outer perimeter?
Your OPSEC.
Yeah,
as they would say.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Again, like ADT, CCTV system. Something that most houses, it's not uncommon for houses to have cameras in at the corners under the gutters these days. And you can have that arranged so that it ties into, you can have it installed. I'm sure Best Buy probably offers something like that where you could just have it installed in your house and it just runs to an internal system. I mean, businesses do it.
But it's got to run to an internal system. That's the thing.
Right.
Everything you can find at Home Depot is like it's Wi-Fi connected, Bluetooth connected. You know, and Bluetooth's okay.
If the grid goes, are you talking about like if the grid goes down or if you don't have access to that?
If the grid goes down.
Yeah, at that point you're looking at human resource. You're looking at like, you know, people. You know, you're going to say, okay, well, you're on Firewatch. So, you know, for the next 3 hours, you know, from 1800 to 2100. Yeah, you know, usually 4 hour, 2 to 4 hour blocks typically is what you can get out of somebody for a Firewatch before it starts to get, you know, they start to fall asleep. Because they have other things that they need to do, you know, and it depends on how many people you have, you know, like sleep.
Gotta have sleep
or drink.
You know,
sleep is after water and shelter. Sleep is like you gotta have it. You can't think clearly, you're done. Really you're gonna be drinking. Yeah,
well, and that's one thing that, you know, ideally you want to have almost like go bags that you could just hand to people. So it's like, here's this. It's got an AR, a handgun, and a shotgun, medical kit, and a flare and a knife in it. You know, and here, go take, you know, you take the north. Here's another one for you. You go take the east. Here's another one for you, south. You know, whatever. And radios are not a bad idea.
I was going to ask.
A hand crank emergency radio is a pretty cheap investment. And then if you have any of those Baofeng $25 radios, those have to be.
How do you spell that?
It's Chinese Baofeng. Or it's either Feng or Fung, Baofeng or Baofeng, one of the two. And with those, you can even hack into FAA frequencies.
I got a friend. You know him?
Yeah.
Michael. And he's got his license. He's got a shortwave.
Yeah.
And he's got his ham license. And he was showing me all that stuff.
Ham radio is cool.
Yeah, I'd like to learn more.
Ham radio is a good way to build a network outside of. It's a stationary system, but it's a good way to build a network that is outside of your immediate surroundings. So if you need to coordinate with somebody a couple miles away, you know, a mile away, beyond hailing distance, in the next town over, you know, and you need to say like, hey, you know, we got a supply run coming to you guys. You know, or we got somebody out there. This is what he looks like. Blah blah blah. He's coming to pick up this. You know, he's our people. Okay, yeah, sure. What's the watchword? Yep, here's a watchword. Blah blah blah. You know, that's where ham radios and monitoring. I mean, having a police scanner, those Baofeng radios that can hack into FAA frequencies, which is why I think they actually put a moratorium on their importation last year.
Really?
Yeah.
On ham radios?
No, on those Baofeng walkies, on those Baofeng walkie-talkies, you can get them programmed to, they'll tap into
moratorium on importation, so you can only get what's already here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha. but I mean, they're out there. They're not
get them while they're hot.
Yeah, get them while they're hot, baby.
Yeah, understood.
I just so happen to have a small supply of them now.
Click the link below.
Yeah. And anything that if it runs off of hand, you know, any sort of manual generation, hand crank of some sort, that's ideal, you know. And two, a typewriter, you know, honestly.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Having a typewriter is a good idea, you know, because you can't hack a typewriter.
And you know what? You can always type out that watchword. You can use that at the end of your communication on a typewriter.
Right.
When that missive is delivered to its intended recipient, they're going to know that this is legit.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Wake waters, baby.
That's right. Yeah. That's right, baby. Typewriters are great. You know, you can. They don't require a battery. They don't require electricity. The ribbon and mechanical failures are the only two, and paper supply are the only things that you have to watch out for. But honestly, like, you really want something that'll do. You want to be prepared for 6 months to a year. Not that it'll ever get that bad, but the thing is, it might not get better. You know, I remember of all things, a great resource for this actually is the Zombie Survival Guide. Weirdly enough, by Max Brooks, same guy who it's the book he wrote before World War Z.
Okay,
and so the Zombie Survival Guide is it's his less popular book, but it's awesome and it's funny and it's satirical. But what he did was he actually took a bunch of Y2K prepper books and he sort of gleaned and culled from them. And he's Mel Brooks' son, so he understands the humor of it all. but he gleaned a bunch of information from that and incorporated it in how would we apply that to a zombie apocalypse. So, having things like a bicycle, a bicycle is a good idea. Traveling low visibility, traveling at night, not skylining over hills, going, taking the low ground whenever you can.
Have you seen my tactical bike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took an old Fiji. It was like this yellow street / mountain bike, cheap bike.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I spray painted it camouflage. Took all the reflectors
Actually,
off.
I have not seen it because Nick's camouflage.
Right, because it's camouflaged so
I've
well.
I've heard of it.
I put a little carriage on the back to throw a bug out bag on.
Oh, nice.
And it is in the dark. You can't see me coming or going.
Yeah.
Until I hit the brakes. I need to replace the brakes. But it's cool.
Yeah.
It's just really cool. If you want to get around at night and not be seen, that's the way to do it. And there, I can't think of a scenario currently in a civilized society where that would be necessary, but you never know. The time may come where you might need to move around undetected.
Yeah. Well, there's no guarantee that even once the National Guard is mobilized, and Kansas's National Guard gets flown or bused or trained out here, that anything's going to work out depending on the nature of what the disaster is. I mean, some terrorist blows some train tracks and blows a water filtration plant, and man, that everything that is affected by that is screwed.
Yeah.
And who knows if there are follow-up attacks after that, or say there's just a hurricane, or say there's an earthquake, and there will be at some point. Well, depending on the political volatility of the situation, of the circumstances, like people might continue the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be as simple as just waiting for the Red Cross to show up.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when, in the hood, when somebody has a heart attack and the ambulance goes in, a lot of times the ambulance has to go in with a police escort
because it gets shot at.
They either get, I mean, EMTs have to wear body armor a lot of times. And even if nothing happens to them when they go in, all the urbanites come out. And,
dude, when there are pockets of your society where your ambulance drivers have to wear body armor,
right?
There's no going back.
Yeah. So
right.
Yeah. So just because predatory people are just like predators. Predators don't go for the strongest gazelle. Predators go for the gazelle that's they take targets of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Caloric output versus caloric intake.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's some sort of a natural disaster or something bad happens, I mean, bet your bottom dollar, baby, that the gangs and the motorcycle clubs or whatever they're trying to call themselves these days, because they're all a bunch of fat losers, are going to come out of the woodwork to try and take advantage of the situation. And, they're going to perpetuate the destabilization, and so
there's going to be a flash of that at the beginning. They won't last long, but there will be. Once things go down, you're going to see a flash of that activity for sure. And do you think so put yourself in a predator mindset? If you're going down a suburban street and you see that the windows are boarded up, is that a sign that this is the weak gazelle, or is this somebody who's
that's a good idea? That's a very good idea, because even I know good people. I say good people. I know normal, fairly well-adjusted people.
Well, you know some good people.
I do.
At least a few good people.
A few good men.
Two.
I know at least two. I'm thinking of one person in particular who is a professional, but when he was in school for his profession, he went to chiropractic school, so that kind of tells you a lot of what you need to know.
Geez,
and him and but here's something to keep in mind.
No, he makes a ton of more money than doctors do. A ton more. But chiropractors are legit.
It was him and a bunch of his veterans, and they had survived Hurricane Ike. This was in Houston, and he used to brag about how their plan. These are veterans, these are guys that, you're supposed to praise, as demigods, as perfect patriotic specimens.
Yeah.
And these guys all had a plan to be marauders.
Should have shown them some love when they got out of the service.
Yeah, no kidding. And so you will have people who you think are normal, well-adjusted people, who maybe are pushed to really intense circumstances, and maybe they're not. Maybe it's just their MO that they're going to fall back on immediately because of their flawed, inferior moral character and their weakness, who will be marauders. And so things might look normal and stable, but you're going to have people rolling through your house, or rolling through your neighborhood looking for
The
easy
target.
targets.
Yep.
So yeah, if you got some plywood, if you got some pallets, strip that stuff down and use it to board up your windows. You don't need those windows anyways. I mean, they're just liabilities. They just render your house porous,
Would you board them up on the outside of the window or the inside of the window? What do you think? Greg, what do you think? Would you, if you saw a house and the windows were boarded up from the outside versus the inside?
The inside would be more secure.
Mm-hmm.
But the outside would
look more intimidating.
Well, yeah, it sends a message. So maybe do both if you got enough wood.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got wood, baby. I got all kinds of wood.
I just stand outside with my AK-47 and just shoot it in the air.
Yeah, with your
El Guapo style,
or with your double barrel shotgun.
Hey, El Guapo,
according to our commander in chief.
That's how you ward them off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I don't want to mess with that guy.
Yeah.
Or stand out there naked. Stand out there naked with a gun.
That's true.
Yeah. They'll be more afraid of your willingness to be nude
than me with a gun. You're right.
And slather yourself in Hershey's syrup and then just lick it off occasionally. They don't know it's Hershey's syrup. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's all you need.
Can you
know what?
Also do that for the camera, please?
We're gonna get banned for this is an explicit episode.
Well, I mean, Abe Lincoln's on deck. Abe Lincoln says, "Stay strapped to get clapped."
I had I can't remember where I typed it in, but our last episode with Biden and versus Lincoln versus Biden, I said comparing the size of their dictators.
I saw that.
Something
that was
like
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Doesn't apply to prepping. Sorry,
It'd be like
I'll edit that out.
Abe Lincoln in the prepocalypse.
Yeah, the prepocalypse. Yeah. What happens if you're fully prepped? You fought off, roving gangs of marauders, and then you see Bigfoot. What do you do? What do you do to prepare for Big? There's no prepping for that.
Right then.
Yeah.
Okay.
You push your wife and kids out the door and say, "Just take them."
Yeah. Here, take my young daughters instead.
Yeah,
you pull a lot.
There you go.
I'm tapping out.
Mm-hmm.
At that point.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, best thing for outer perimeter is probably signs that you are not weak prey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But signs, let's talk about signs, because if we want to put signs on our perimeters, the federal government is,
I think
outrageously overreaching. So, if you put something out there that says, "If you loot, we shoot."
You loot, we shoot. Yeah.
Right, and then you shoot because somebody invades your property.
Yeah.
They can use that against you. So you got to be smart. You got to be careful.
Severed heads of anything you kill.
Oh, there you go.
Anything.
You got to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's not going to matter.
Just human heads.
Yes. I mean, whatever.
Ooh, nice.
At that point, if it's that unstable, rule of law has gone away.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. So you need to send a message, whether it's.
I'm saying the rule of law now, if you have a sign that says, "If you loot, we shoot," in America.
In America, yeah.
And then somebody tries to, loot your property.
Yeah.
You shoot, and you have that sign.
Yeah.
The state can use that against you.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. They'll use that to say that you were trigger happy and hoping to commit violence.
But you were looking
You wanted it. Yeah, you wanted it.
It seems like there are phases of, the shit hitting the fan.
You really have to be careful about what
There's the current state.
Flags you fly. So
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The signs you put out, the indicators that you're willing to do violence to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But like right now, there's current society, then there's society under martial law.
Yeah.
Then there's a
Which is
collapse of
another one.
society, and the military still trying to maintain control or order.
Mhm.
And then the next level is there is no military. There's no law and order.
And it's anarchy.
It's the marauder season, because they're
Yeah.
going to organize.
Yeah.
They're already organized right now.
Yeah.
Those bands already exist. Those tribes exist.
And I got news for you. The cops are going to be every bit as bad as the marauders, because they're going to be marauding too. I mean, my buddy did talk about that like the cops in Houston, the cops were looting the Walmart. They
Wow.
weren't protecting the Walmart.
Wow,
They
dude.
were looting the Walmart.
Wow.
So this whole fetishization of law enforcement and military of these people as being moral entities by simple virtue of the fact that they're wearing a badge or a uniform is a complete fantasy.
Right.
I mean,
100%.
there are good people, obviously, who are who would take a stand, but you're going to follow orders. If you're in the military, you're going to be a good trooper and you're going to follow orders. And if you're in law enforcement, you're going to make sure that you go home that night.
Yep.
And you will.
You're going to protect your pension.
Yeah, and you're going to if pensions even exist at that point.
Yeah.
But they'll flex. They'll flex their authority. They'll flex their power, because violence is power, and the ability to commit violence is really the only power that really matters when all the paper gets burned.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
Yep. So let's say we've survived somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Martial law, marauders, and the occasional urban survivor that's wandered onto your property. Let's say we're past all that. What do we do then?
Think local, act local.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And I mean, they talked about that actually in the book. World War Z is really good. And it actually is, weirdly enough, a pretty good predictor of how a lot of this works. And in the book, they lose a lot of ground. They have to retreat west of the Rockies, but eventually they reorganize, restructure, and they start a slow march towards the East Coast, just mile by mile, And they talk about how they encountered pockets of human resistance, along the way, of like camps and outposts and little fortresses and places where like these people had survived on their own after they had been abandoned by their government, and the government would come back and try to like say, hey, we're back and we're reclaiming this land for America and, welcome back. And sometimes these people would say like, no, you're not. Because you abandoned us. We don't need you, That's something that probably would really happen. And by the way, the end of that story is another like Waco. The government says,
no, we're back and we're taking it.
We're back and we're taking
Yep.
it. And yeah, I think the line from the president in that was, I want these
very
people...
Lincolnian.
Yes, I want these people dealt with swiftly and as quietly as possible.
Just like in... what's it called? The show Sweet Tooth, about the hybrids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In a way, society has collapsed.
Yeah.
And then there's that general. What's his name? What's the bad guy's name?
Oh yeah, I don't remember.
Anyway, he's rolling through towns.
Yeah.
He has total, he has totalitarian control.
Yeah.
And it's those people.
Yeah.
The head of faux governments.
Mm-hmm.
Militaries that they built up around
vacuum,
themselves.
because nature abhors a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep, absolutely right. Yeah, those are the people that worry me.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Like with social media, like there's no part of me that fears the SJW mob, because like, what are you people gonna do? You're gonna get my social media accounts banned, so that I'm gonna have to create another one. Or you're gonna like what? You're maybe if I'm, if I have like some corporate job, you're gonna get me fired. Well, I mean, somebody out there is still gonna hire me. So I mean, like, people shouldn't scare you. The only people that should scare you are the people who have a monopoly on violence. And there's only one game in town that has the monopoly on violence.
Yep.
And it's certainly not the Antifa crowd.
Nope.
So
I just had a great idea for a book.
Yeah.
Maybe you can help me with this. The Pirate's Survival Guide. Meaning, How to survive the apocalypse using the survival strategies of pirates from the Golden Age.
That's awesome.
How to dry and salt meat.
Yeah.
How to preserve water.
Yeah.
How to find, how to find fruit and resources.
How to fend off scurvy.
Yeah.
You know.
How to keep your party happy.
Yeah.
From mutiny.
Isolation.
Plus, some sort of
how to drill.
Some sort of agreed upon code of conduct aboard a ship. Maybe even, and you think about the apocalypse happening.
That's a good idea.
If you live close to the coast, you might want to get offshore for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you survive at sea?
Yeah.
You know, for long stints. How do you navigate?
Yeah, what kind of fishing supplies
That'd
do
be
you
a cool
need?
book.
Navigation.
I think about all the different survival guides, the ultimate survival guide, how to survive in the woods, like all of these books out there. There's nothing like from when you think about what pirates did during the Golden Age, they had no support. They had to find their own resources at sea.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be an interesting book.
That's a good idea.
That'd be an interesting book.
Well, that's a good idea because there's a lot of people who really will probably along the coast, who will do that. They'll go out to the Gulf of Mexico. They'll go down to the Florida Keys.
People with sailboats are set up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Because the gas is going to run out.
Yeah. No, I changed my mind. I'm moving to Florida.
Let's go. Let's go. Florida man. Let's go back.
Florida man. Lead us home.
Take us home.
Follow me.
You are our apocalypse Moses. Take us to the promised land, baby.
Florida Gandalf. Thy staff and thy rod. Old Glamdring Greg. I'm old Greg.
I'm old Greg.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's a good idea, Nick. Yeah,
I like that idea.
Yeah,
I think I could go somewhere.
A pirate's
guide
to the
I love
apocalypse.
Pirates. Yeah, I love that whole age.
Yeah,
the golden age of piracy, the golden age of sail.
A pirate's guide to the apocalypse: how to Blackbeard your way through the end of the world.
Yeah, dude, I'm loving to see the ideas already. All right, we'll collaborate on that.
Yeah. Well, typewriter runoff, or do you want to move? Or do you want to keep talking? What else you got?
I don't have any more questions. I think this is really insightful. Final words on prepping, Greg, from someone who is actually in a better position to actually do it.
You are in a better position.
Final words on prepping. What would you tell people who live in an apartment in the city?
Prepare. If you have to move out of the city, that's okay too. Just the best you can every day, every way you can. That's what I guess.
Inspirational, deep, thought-provoking. Thank you, Greg.
It's very sweet.
What would you say?
5.56. Actually, if you can only have one gun, get a Glock 19.
Okay.
If you can only afford one gun, if you got one shot, Glock 19 will do just about everything you need to protect yourself.
You know what? I got a friend from church named Ben. He just got one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that too. I need a semi. I got a revolver, but I need a semi on it.
Yeah. Well, because you can, it doesn't really matter what handgun for the most part you get, but if I could recommend something, I'd recommend a Glock 19 because it's the AK-47 of the pistol world. The ammo's, it's high capacity. Everybody can shoot it.
It's a 9, right?
Yeah, it's 9mm. Yeah, like everybody can use it. It's not that expensive. There are tons of them. There are tons of parts for them. Tons of people know how to use them. And you normally I would say get an AR-15, or some sort of a semi-automatic assault style battle rifle or something. But you can't conceal that. You can just about anybody can at least put a Glock 19 on their body somewhere, and whether you're a man or a woman, it may print, it may not be comfortable, but you can do it. You can hide that gun on you and you can take it with you when you got to leave.
I got another question. The law here in Tennessee just changed regarding carrying a firearm.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Constitutional carry. So for the longest time, Tennessee was I guess it technically was a shall issue state, but really it's not hard to get a carry permit here. So you could get what they call a handgun carry permit in Tennessee. You had to take an 8-hour state-mandated course from a private company. There are tons of private companies. There was a whole cottage industry built around this up until this year. And fair enough. I mean, I call it a cottage industry, but honestly, it needed to exist because it was the only way you could carry a firearm. You can purchase a firearm, you can own a firearm in your home, you can own a firearm, loaded in your home, you can own a firearm loaded in your vehicle, because castle doctrine extends to the vehicle in the state of Tennessee. But if you wanted to walk outside, if you wanted to carry your firearm concealed or not concealed beyond your property, then much like most other states, you would have to, go through the hoops to get a carry permit, which typically involved a largely perfunctory 8-hour course, 4 hours of classroom, 4 hours of range time to qualify. And it cost anywhere between $60 and $130, depending on where you went. And it was pretty boilerplate, I mean, it's a good idea to take it. I took it, and Tennessee eventually, a few years ago, moved to having lifetime permits, which was another good idea. You wouldn't have to pay a renewal fee. You'd pay a flat fee, whether you were applying for the first time or you were looking to renew, and then you'd never have to renew again. That's a good idea if you're under 50. Because it'll save you money in the long run, and the stress of like having a renewal date come up on one more thing that you have to write a check for
every year.
Yeah, it's like every 6 or 7 years.
Oh, gotcha.
I can't remember. It's every 6 years, I believe.
Okay.
I can't remember, but it sucks in either way, and it costs, depending on where you live, what county you live in. It can cost as little as probably $50-$60. It can cost as much as $100 to renew. So, I mean, unless you're, going to be dead in the next 20 years, then it's worth it to like go ahead and get the lifetime. But you had to have it, and they'd issue you a card, which would also function as it's a state issued ID with your picture. They take your picture, they get your fingerprints, and then they'd send you the card in the mail. Just, it looks like your driver's license, and is recognized by a bunch of other different states. And then they started to roll back on that a couple years ago, where they started letting people get a limited carry permit. And they call it a handgun carry permit because it only applies to handguns, because you don't need a permit to carry a rifle in public in Tennessee. That's why you have guys with AR-15s making a statement in Starbucks,
Gotcha.
slung across their back. But you need one for a handgun. Because weirdly enough, it's like the one time where like the government actually does react to firearms in a way that makes sense based off of the statistics, because handguns kill way more people than AR-15s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
AR-15s are like something around 3% of the fatalities of gunshot fatalities. So, anyways, handgun carry permit is not called a CCW, a concealed carry permit, because with the handgun carry permit in the state of Tennessee, you can open or conceal carry. So you can have it tucked in your waistline, or you can have it just hanging off your hip, cowboy style, whatever. So, and it only applies to handguns because that's the only thing that they regulate really when it comes to that.
Gotcha.
But then they rolled it back a couple years ago, and they started saying that if you did not leave the state of Tennessee, you could take an online test and get like a Tennessee only carry permit that was only good for Tennessee. And that was like a weird little stopgap until they recently, earlier this year, approved of constitutional carry, which is good. That brings us to the current day with constitutional carry. Constitutional carry eliminates the need to take a class and jump through hoops and also pay a fee. It was kind of a racket, kind of like MARTA.
Yeah, like emissions.
It was much like emissions. Because you had to pay for the class yourself. The state did not reimburse you for that, because no one in government has ever read any Robert Heinlein. And then you also would have to pay an application fee of $125 to the state when you applied for your carry permit, even though you've already taken a class, even though you've already been certified by your instructor. So it was a stupid racket. It sucked. I helped teach some of the carry classes. I know a lot of guys who ran carry classes, and they still do. It's a good idea to do it, because if you're a new shooter, it's a good primer. It's not like the state should not regulate a constitutional right. The state technically cannot regulate a constitutional right, but no one's willing to do anything about that. So they get away with it.
Yep.
It's unconstitutional. They shouldn't do it. Constitutional carry is long overdue. I'm all for it, but at the same time, here's the thing: you can have safety or you can have liberty, but you can't have both.
Right.
So you choose. I would rather have the chaos of morons and retards out there who have no idea what they're doing and they're too low IQ to be responsible, walking around with guns, than I would for the state to regulate what I can and can't have to protect myself.
Yep.
I trust the state less than I trust the stupidest meth head out there. And I've had multiple loaded firearms pointed in my direction in the past 5 months, working at the job that I'm at. So and I've been shot at. So, as someone who has been there and continues to be there by the very nature of my job, I'm all for constitutional carry. And I think that it eliminates this hoity-toity, elitist, pinky out, desperately pathetic subset, this FUD-like subset of the gun world that thinks, because they had to pay for a class, you should have to pay for a class too. And it's like, well, sorry, man.
Should have waited.
Yeah, should have waited, or what? Welcome to real life.
Or you did what you had to. You did what you had to do at the time.
Yeah, you did what you had to do. Circumstances were not permitting. So you didn't have this. I didn't have this either. We've all paid the price for this when the circumstances sucked. Just be happy that the state isn't getting. It's getting less money. I never thought I'd see the day when the state.
It's kind of a socialist mindset.
Yeah, it is. It's very. It's very elitist.
Yeah.
It's very like, I'm better than you. You should have to suffer the same thing I suffered. Well, why? What you suffered sucked. It shouldn't have ever happened in the first place. And it's a small miracle that the state has divorced itself of any money.
I know.
Any money at all. Because the state, capital S, does not do that.
No.
The state only increases the money it takes.
Yeah. And Tennessee's a very conservative state.
It is.
And even Tennessee has a hard time.
Yeah. So constitutional carry is a great thing. Does it create a lot of chaos because now you're not requiring people to take an education? Yeah. But you know what? At the same time, that education was pretty bland to begin with because we've always known it was. So it's not a bad idea. And two, if you're ever going to travel outside the state, constitutional carry does not apply to that. So if you go down to Florida, if you go to Georgia, if you go to any of these places, if you want to go on a road trip and you want to protect your family, you're still going to need to jump through the hoops to get a carry permit.
Yeah.
So eventually, in an ideal world, all states would have constitutional carry, and they would be recognized with full reciprocity. Reciprocity and recognition are not the same thing.
Let me ask you this: Greg and I have kids roughly the same age. I have 2; he's got 5. So my 2 are roughly the same age of some of his kids. Hunter safety, a lot of different courses out there. Kids that haven't picked up a firearm yet.
Yeah.
Where's the best place to go to find that information, find that training?
TWRA.
You think so?
Yeah.
Through the state?
Yeah. TWRA at least provides a network, and you can hop online and find a place that's local. If you have a friend who's certified, go through them. Someone you trust. With the proliferation of social media, you can usually see who's current and who's really good and who's not.
They offer it online through different agencies now.
Interesting. That's not preferable, but because kids are tactile learners for the most part, they need to do to learn. Because they need to start developing those motor skills. So having them in a classroom, which they're already kind of conditioned for anyways. Now, I never had to take hunter safety, so I actually am not familiar with it, but I don't know, if they have you, holding a rifle, holding a shotgun, learning how to hold it, learning how to stand, sit, kneel, all that stuff, learning how to line up your sights. If you can do it in person, it's better if they offer that. If they don't offer that, do the easiest thing possible to get it out of the way. Find somebody who knows what they're doing. Have them teach your kids, or you teach your kids.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Tactile learning when it comes to the firearms is the most important thing for children, though, if it's offered. Being able to get hands-on training, that's the only thing that matters, because it's a perishable skill.
Yep.
So,
Understood. All right, man. Let's move on to typewriter one-offs.
Yeah, typewriter one-offs.
All
All right.
I dug a little something up here. It's not that great, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Ready for
Let's do it.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yes, sir.
All right. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Lost again.
Oh man, I'm 2 in a
Oh
row.
man.
Oh man.
Kind of makes me a little angry, but I know that he's got a pattern that I've just never paid attention to. And so
It's all luck.
It's my fault. It is all my fault. Okay, here we go. Now let me move this over here. There we go. Roanoke did not dance. His scarred and mutilated peers, ribboned in gold watch fobs, would point and call him wallflower. The maidens would giggle from their clusters, covering their mouths as they uttered the words "stick in the mud." But Roanoke would simply cross his arms and meet their gazes long enough to let them know that he had no fear of them, but also had more pressing matters to attend. He was not officially on duty. The gold had already been paid out. He was not so gauche as to baldric his basilard to his back at such royal court functions, but they would be fools to not suspect that he at least had a gut hook tucked under his belt, a blackjack belted to his pocket liner, and a stiletto and garrote wire lashed to his cuff-linked wrists. Half of his instruments he had not had to use since his days running security in the urban squalor, or his youth growing up on the border wall between civilization and the wild, savage lands beyond. But all that was a decade or more behind him. The veterans who mocked him while they drunkenly danced did not grasp that when a slinger bullet went past their heads, they had the benefit of training, armor, and cohorts at their flanks, and an empire behind them. As a freelancer, Roanoke had none of that. They were not equitable. When the giggling teases of the young, naive, sheltered maidens threatened to brand his banded collar hot with steam, Roanoke reminded himself that these were the same creatures who flung themselves weeping into cushions at the slightest hint of insulting innuendo and provocation. Roanoke was not above these people. He had been hired, after all, to protect them. He knew that self-righteousness got men killed. Besides, humility was the first step towards wisdom, and he'd be damned if he was going to catch metal and bleed his last for the sake of his demon's ego. Pride took an archangel. He prayed it would not take him. So he endured their verbal slings and arrows. They were, after all, easier to dodge than the real deal. Besides, being at the gala tonight freed his boss, the captain, to stay at home and enjoy retirement with his wife. The captain was a friend. He liked helping his friends, especially those who grew old in a profession where good men died young. Roanoke hoped to grow old, but he did not think he would make it. He was not that lucky, governed, or wise. But as a lancer, he was loyal, and that counted for something. And so, as the music played and the spirits loosened the flesh, Roanoke watched the royal court dance. Roanoke did not dance. But when he did, it was to the keening wail and hissing bite of his own plied instruments, and he always put his best foot forward. It just so happened that his best foot was his left.
Oh, nice. Nice. Where did that come from? That was cool.
I don't know. I
love the name Roanoke, by the way.
Yeah,
so cool.
I have no idea. Like, it's so weird how stuff happens. Like, the phrase, I was laying in bed one night, probably actually like was woken up for some, sleep apnea. And the phrase Roanoke did not dance was in my head. No idea. And it wouldn't leave for like a day. I kept coming back to it, like Roanoke did not dance. A lot of these one-offs, they just come from one line. And then the one line, I have no idea what it is or where it's going or what it's about, but we just chase it and usually, somewhere in the mix, there's some sort of life in there that gets infused, so.
Do you feel like the muse gives you the line, or once the line comes to you and you dive into it, the muse flushes it out?
I think the muse gives the line. Yeah. I think the muse, for me at least, the muse gives the line, and then, it's like being handed a box of Legos.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. You figure it out. You do your thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay, fair enough.
That's so cool.
I'll figure it out.
So cool.
It's a cool name, though, right?
Roanoke's awesome.
I went back and forth between like Roanoke, or I started to second guess myself at one point and thought maybe like Roan would be a good name. Roan's a good word, because it's mottled red and white. So a lot of times it's applied to horses. Roan, I've used the phrase a roan tributary underfoot, which is to say blood in the river,
Is that RHONE?
ROAN.
RON, okay.
Roan, yeah. And but it just, as cool as that is, it felt a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
Sure. And if there's anything I'm bad at, it's being ham-fisted and on the nose, So we just, we left it with Roanoke. And it's just kind of weird. Like no one's ever named Roanoke.
Yeah, it's a great name.
So
I love it.
Thanks, man.
He would fit what
it had a little bit of a Witcher vibe to it.
Yeah, well, he'd fit well into Roman Coke.
Yeah. Yeah. I did. I realized that earlier
like a
today.
Stepbrother. Or something.
His surly, cynical stepbrother.
Yeah.
I don't talk like that.
That's awesome.
Anyways,
all right.
You got one?
Yeah, mine's super short.
Cool.
This is a little motivational piece for all the writers out there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good.
All right. This one goes out to all the writers. There's always a reason to quit. And that reason usually involves other people. Those people are typically willing to be the reason you give up without even realizing they're doing it. They have nothing to lose. All they did was talk. They all said, go for it. Some said, you can try, but you'll probably fail. A few said nothing and waited for you to fail. And were happy when you did. Yeah. And you knew that would be the case. So you quit and blamed it on them. You piled up a body of work. They did nothing but disbelieve. You lost everything. They lost nothing. In fact, they gained power over you. But only because you handed it over willingly. They didn't even ask. They just waited. You handed it over and became just another easy meal for the lazy predator, the passive, toxic naysayer. Yeah. Who are you? You are better than that. I won't give up on you. I won't let you hand over your hard work that you've piled up. I will not give up on you. All you need to do is not give up on me believing in you. I will keep your fire lit if you promise not to blow out the flame. And we will burn the world down together. Yeah. The end.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So don't stop writing. Don't stop writing, writers.
That's right. Have you encountered that? Have you encountered the lazy naysayer? Is it the nascent naysayer?
Not really. I've encountered the wanting to quit and blame it on other people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've encountered that.
Internally or externally?
Internally. Internally, yeah. I think a lot of writers, it's internal. But there are people out there that are like, yeah, sure, try just another thing, knowing that they believe you're probably just going to fail at this too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But there are some people out there, like Pressfield's a great example of someone who says, I believe in you. Don't give up on me believing in you.
Right. Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
And if you do,
yeah.
And then, and I've helped keep your fire lit. We can both burn the world down together.
Yeah.
I love that. So I just, don't feel alone. Just keep writing. Forget, all the people that you're projecting that they're naysaying and don't believe in you, and just keep going, because you're not alone. Just like a lot of conservatives need to hear.
Yeah,
dude, you are not alone. We are all there with you,
and
we will make this work.
Abe Lincoln got your back.
Hey, Blinken got you. Pit Viper's got your back. Florida Man's got your back. And Longshanks.
That's right.
Oh, man.
Oh, Longshanks.
Oh, Longshanks.
Yeah. Well, that's true, man. You know, we are our own worst enemies in a lot of ways, and
For sure.
and you know, we misinterpret a lot of other people's signals when you tell them about something you have going on. A lot of people who are not creatives or not entrepreneurial in some way, or not risk takers, ultimately probably just not risk takers. That's probably the best way of putting it, because all of that stuff falls under risk taking. They don't know what to do with that information when you tell them, like, I'm writing a book, you know, like, oh, okay. You know, they're like Marvin the alien, or the robot, Marvin the robot from
Or Eeyore.
Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah, very Eeyore-like. Just you know, well, you probably fail.
Yeah, sure. You don't know how hard it probably really is.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people just they have no compass for that sort of enterprise, so they don't know.
Good point.
You know, they just want to get it out of the way and move on to their next thing.
Yeah.
You know, but that's but yeah, I mean, they're not along for the ride anyways, so it doesn't matter. You know?
Yep.
So,
man, I think that's it. You guys have anything else you want to go over, share? Greg, thanks for hanging in there and listening to our one-offs.
yeah,
I appreciate it,
Thank you,
man.
Greg.
I loved it.
Bring one next time. What the heck? I'm teasing you, bud. I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you joined us. And for two,
Yeah.
you're second, man. Thank you.
Abe Lincoln says that you got to bring a one-off for tax for the Goslings.
Yeah.
Abe Lincoln
Yeah,
will habeas your corpus. If you,
I will habeas your corpus.
I will habeas you in the corpus
Habeas your corpus.
if you don't bring a one-off for the live stream.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, your ungrateful colonials appreciate you watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you next week, 4:30 live, Sunday, Central Standard, 4:30 Central Standard Time.
That's right.
Sundays.
Yep. 4:30
YouTube,
PM.
Rumble. Well, YouTube and Facebook Live, and then we'll put it up on Rumble and crank out the podcast on.
And
Spotify.
this is pre-recorded because I am most likely still in Rome, Georgia, whenever you're watching this.
Yeah.
So you know, and Greg is somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
homesteading. He's down there
Yeah,
homesteading,
he's homesteading.
Lewisburg.
popping them, you know,
popping them eggs,
free range eggs like Tic Tacs. You probably crack them right into your mouth, don't you? You beast.
Yeah.
It's so nasty.
Dripping down my chin.
Oh man, awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
I'm Jonathan.
Nick.
That's
Florida
Greg. Man. And we're the